Welcome to the BrightWord Books Podcast. BrightWord is a leading platform for diverse storytelling, where voices from all backgrounds can share their unique narratives and connect with readers from around the world. Follow our regular podcast updates, where we strive to foster a literary community that celebrates creativity, inclusivity, and the transformative power of literature.
Welcome, everyone, to the BrightWord Books Podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with today's most compelling authors and storytellers. I am your host, Winston, and today we're thrilled to welcome back for the third time, I didn't know that, Patrick L. Scott, the author of A Just Revenge. In this gripping novel, we follow Sean Roberts, a young man whose simple love for farming and his girlfriend is shattered, unfortunately, when she disappears into San Francisco's drug-fueled hippie underworld of the 1960s. Taking on the alias George Wescot, Sean dives deep into the world of wealth, excess, and moral decay, using his hunter's instinct to track those responsible for the pain inflicted on the woman he once loved. So in today's conversation, we will revisit Patrick's reflections since the book's release, dig deeper into Sean's morally complex journey, and explore the themes that make A Just Revenge resonate so powerfully today. So we will also hear what is next for Patrick's, as a writer. So settle in. This is going to be a fantastic, fascinating ride. First things first, Patrick, welcome back and hello.
Hello.
How have you been doing?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah, we're just going to pretend like we didn't talk for half an hour before this call. So I hope that's fine. I hope you're good at improv. I'm going to test you today. So let me ask you this. Looking back now, what's the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself since the book entered the world?
That I probably didn't remember a lot of what I wrote in the book, because I just reread it, and I was surprised that I didn't remember a lot of what I had written, because a lot of it was so familiar to me.
When you say familiar, what do you mean?
A lot of the stuff I did.
Oh, so loosely inspired, as we say. And now, has your understanding of revenge, because that seems like a big theme out of it. I mean, it's in the title. Has your understanding of revenge, or forgiveness for that matter, evolved further through maybe readers' discussion or personal reflection, something like that?
It's interesting that revenge is, in the historic way, is when something is taken from you that shouldn't have been taken from you. And while you could go back and get it justly, if it's not returned to you appropriately, you have a right to go after it with full heart and take it away.
Right.
That's revenge. You take it by force, if necessary.
Well, it is almost always the case that it is necessary. I mean, it's not a pretty thing, and nobody's willing to give you the satisfaction of revenge just willingly. I mean, that's almost unheard of. Now, are there any reader reactions? I mean, because when you publish a book or release a movie, whatever piece of art that you put out, and people are reacting to it, you always get some people who are like, well, I thought if you did this, it would have been better. If you did this, it would have been better. And yeah, there is always this, but sometimes someone says something that truly makes you, at least challenges your original intentions. Has that happened with you?
Yes, it happened actually with one of my good friends, who is a pretty tough guy in a lot of ways, but he also is a intellectual. And he was looking at the pursuit of revenge intellectually. And if you do it that way, it's not emotionally. And revenge is an emotional experience.
Yes.
And it's not an intellectual experience. It's not something one thinks about. It's not one that somebody contemplates to the point where it can be manifested in a journal, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you just do it.
it's very poignant. You just do it. But see, that's my question here. So, when you say you just do it, what do you think is because it's an emotional thing, revenge? What do you think is the strongest primary emotion that really drives it?
What
drives
drives
revenge?
revenge?
Yeah, in your opinion.
The need to find the depth of justice that can be found. Justice is revenge in a lot of ways, but there are depths to it. And you send somebody, say a drunk driver, into jail. That's not revenge. That's punishing a drunk driver for driving under the influence. But if you took him into jail and then broke both of his hands because he was driving that vehicle, he'd never do it again.
He doesn't have any hands anymore, unless he can learn to drive with his feet. I don't see
something to that effect,
right?
And it'll be something that he would never forget.
Do you think it's always a case of an eye for an eye?
I think that's a more difficult question to answer, because whose eye is worth another person's eye? Right. Is your eye worth my eye? Well, to me, it's not.
Well, from where I'm standing, it's not either.
Right. So
I like seeing things.
So it would be unfair to say an eye for an eye. But I don't think revenge is necessarily a tit for tat, an A for an A, or anything particularly equivalent to that. I think revenge is the satisfaction of having stopped or prevented that kind of a crime from happening again, that kind of an event from happening again. If a burglar came into my house, just getting him out of my house might be satisfaction enough, but it's not enough to punish him. For me, it would be breaking both of his legs.
Yeah, there's a breaking theme that keeps popping up. So
I think you're hearing some of my youth.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of Sean right now. So speaking of Sean, are there any, because I'm peeling a little bit of your layers, so we're gonna take it back to Sean. Are there any hidden layers of motivations in Sean or even George? Any hidden motivations that readers you think still haven't picked up on?
Well, this is my second novel, and my character in my first novel was Sean Roberts. And he was attacked and shot at and had to basically fight his way out of that environment also. And growing up, I grew up in a farm boy society where fighting was common, daily almost, with somebody. It wasn't, like you might still be best friends afterwards.
Yeah.
But it was what happened. So
yeah, there wasn't no internet back then, so that's how you came online, by punching other people.
No internet. The thought of a computer wasn't even around then, right, I don't think.
Yeah. So yeah, you had to beat it into someone.
But in truth, if somebody were to take something from you,
Mhm.
getting it back in itself was revenge, because that was then taking something away from them that they had, even though it wasn't theirs in the first place.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you took it away with a little bit of extra force so that they
Yeah.
never forgot again.
Right. Some fees, let's call them.
Right.
Mhm.
So it never happened once. It only happened once.
Right. Now, keeping up with this age theme, being old, being young, and everything. So we kind of established that Sean is sort of like the younger you. So I could ask this question in two ways. I could say, if you could sit down with Sean today, what would you want to give him advice about? Or I can just pretty much tell you, if you were to sit down with the younger you, the Sean who is not Sean, what would you say to him?
Well, I will tell you that the moniker George Wescot was used by Sean on the river and was given to him by an idiot who came from the Bay Area that was well educated but inexperienced on the river. And we were stopped by a sheriff with a pistol shooting at us. And to hide out who we were, we said the culprit was George Wescot. He was a Mexican from across the river. We were sleeping on an island. Well, in this situation, Sean is in a completely new environment. He's in Europe.
Mhm.
He's by himself. And well, before that, he starts going to coming out parties. Somehow he gets invited to debutante coming out parties, which is way above his class, and doesn't want to be found out about from people in the other people within the organization that he was trying to investigate. And that was the brothers. So he used that moniker, George Wescot. And Sean acted like he was their best friend and hated them simultaneously.
Now, what would you ask him if you were to meet Sean? If Sean were to materialize in front of you, what would your question be to him?
Have you stopped being so angry? Sean was angry.
Very.
I'm no longer angry.
Do you think he'll say yes?
I think he would. I think he did enough. He realized he had done enough to satisfy the situation he was in.
Mhm.
And unless it was absolutely necessary, he wouldn't do it again, because it takes revenge takes a lot from the person giving it out.
Mhm.
You come away with less of who you are than who you started with.
And that less is enough to continue?
That's enough not to do it again.
It's enough to not do it again. Okay. Okay.
If
So,
you can. I think revenge is a last ditch thing. It's not something you want to do.
mm,
It's something you have to do.
so your first reaction should not be to seek revenge unless you're pushed to it in a certain way, maybe take a little bit of vigilante justice because the justice itself wouldn't do anything about it.
That's right. That's the only way. That's the only reason.
Mhm. Mhm.
If there was a way to call the police and have the guy arrested, taken away to get the punishment that they should, and they do, okay, it's taken care of. I mean, I was in the court system for 35 years, and some of the situations where they went to trial and got the verdict against them that they should have gotten sometimes was too draconian. Other times it wasn't nearly enough. But whatever is enough to prevent them wanting to do it again, yes, that's enough.
Right. So pretty much put him down. I mean, personally, if I were to meet Sean, I would ask him, how many hands and legs did you break across this journey? It seems like there's a threshold maybe he needs to hit. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the question being about anger, because this is kind of what we talked about earlier when I said, what do you think driving emotion behind revengeance? And to me, at least, I think it's anger. And it might be not just anger towards the person who wronged you, but anger towards the system that didn't punish them, or the anger towards the universe for putting you in that situation to begin with, and you feeling the need to rectify it.
That would be a more metaphysical way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some situations where the type of punishment dished out is necessary to stop the attacker from attacking. So if you're being attacked by a guy with a knife, you're going to disarm him if you can. But you can't stop, because then they're going to grab the knife and do it again. So you have to stop them from wanting to grab the knife and do it again. And that's what Sean had to do a couple of times.
Right.
And he also had to hide himself simultaneously, because a recognized vigilante that is alone, without anybody assisting him, anybody helping him, anybody hiding him, is dangerous to himself. He has no backup. He has no place to hide.
And do you think he walks around after you ask him and you say, are you still angry? He said, man, do you think he would say no? What would he say if you said, do you have any regret or residual guilt?
I would, and I think in the last chapter of the book itself, Sean learns that the boys went to prison, and that the prison they went to was in Portugal. And if you know anything about the Portuguese prisons at that time,
Never been there. Sorry.
Okay. They're horrible. They're completely bare. They don't have running water. They don't have a toilet. You have a pot. If you fill it up, no matter what width, it stays there until it gets emptied by somebody else. And you get one meal a day. That's it.
Yeah.
And no place to go, no exercise. Maybe you get an hour a day. So it's a wretched place to be. That could be considered revenge, but that's also what the Portuguese consider as punishment.
Right. As basically the reward that you deserve for your not so great actions, in that sense.
Yes.
Now, so living in the world that we live in today, do you see any symbolism in the book itself that has taken a new meaning, maybe in the light of current events?
Having not really contemplated that question, until hearing it right now.
See, 35 years of legal work would not protect her from me.
Well, as a person looking at what some of these countries are doing to the victims or the people of countries around them, such as the Israelis, the Hamas, and some of the other countries in that area, due to the people of Gaza, I would think is absolutely horrible. And the Israelis are trying to justify their conduct as righteous. And I think I'm a Jew. So I look at it and think, I understand to some degrees why they would think that, but I can't condone it. I think it's gone too far.
Right.
And it's gone to too many innocent people. And those people aren't responsible.
Yeah, many of them are children. They're not responsible for anything, really.
That's right. Your children shouldn't be victimized for anything you've done.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Children should not be crucified for the sins of their father. I mean, it's pretty much.
Absolutely. And there's a reason that that's in the Bible.
Now, if you had to distill the core moral question of the novel, what would you say it would be? What is the question, like the central question that you're trying to answer?
Can any one person justify using revenge as a form of justice? And as I say in the beginning of the book, justice can be defined by revenge as if it's the last thing that can be done in order to get justice for that conduct. So the transgression has to be so bad that it can justify an ultimate level of revenge.
Right. Now, this is a question less about the book and more about the craft itself. Every writer, I believe, I'm a published author myself, and I think, having talked to many other writers and authors and everything, everyone seems to have some sort of like writing ritual. It's like the stuff you see. Sometimes it's so ridiculous. It's like the stuff you see in Vegas, where people do a weird dance before they, hit the slot machine or something. So, one of my writer friends, he said that he has to prepare this drink, and he has to put this specific brand's yogurt with this specific brand's juice, and it sort of like does something. I mean, obviously it's placebo effect, and he realizes it, but it sort of became his ritual. Now, you don't strike me as insane as he is.
I don't have a dance, I'll tell you that.
You sure don't have a dance. But do you have anything that you would consider as a ritual that you sort of like going to before starting to write?
My ritual is I start off with an outline, very broad outline. Where do I want to go? From where am I now? Where do I want to go next? And how do I want that to show up? So all of a sudden then characters start coming out of my set of questions, because I need somebody to explain those things. I need somebody to act on those things. So now I've got to create characters. What are those characters going to look like? So now I need to describe those characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to visualize them. And when I visualize them, I listen to them and I hear them and I can hear them talking to me. What do they sound like? It's not just what they look like, but what do they sound like? How do they speak to me? And I rewrote this book after it was totally rewritten probably 5 or 6 times and changed a lot of things. There's one section, I don't know if you've read the book or not, but there's one section about India that was 4 times as long as it is now. And I said, I lived in India for a year. It was wretched, and what happened there was to me horrible, but it wasn't their fault, really, the people who were doing the horrible things. It was just the way they had to live. So I couldn't blame them. So I reduced it down to make it less poignant.
Right. Is there anything else that you cut off from the book just for for the sake of time or?
Well, the book got slimmed down numerous times. I had way too many words.
Mm. Do you regret cutting it up? Any part do you think would have been
No, I
interesting?
don't actually.
No,
No,
you
I
sound like a
left
real
in.
Sean.
Yeah, I left in what I thought was appropriate. But I took out those things that weren't necessary, were fillers or unnecessary elocutions of a description of something that didn't need to be described. It's like you start describing a pine tree and you can go into all the branches and you can go into all the pine nuts and all those. You don't need that. What you needed to do is basically say there was a pine tree that was fully grown and full of pine needles.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows what that looks like, and they're dark green. So okay.
Yeah, say more with less, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people then visualize it, so then they become part of the reading of the book. Right. They become part of the writing of the book.
Mm-hmm. Writing is such an interesting format, unlike stuff like a play, for example, where the feedback is so immediate, like stand-up comedy. You're on stage, you're doing your jokes, you're doing your shtick, everything, and the laughs are sort of like the instant feedback. When it comes to writing, it's a communication line, but it only goes one way. It just goes from you to the reader. And the reader, you don't know how they're, reacting on their sofa or whatever they're reading. And so you only wait for those moments where you meet the readers, then you get something back from them. So at first, you're just speaking to them without them having the ability to speak back to you or give you any kind of feedback. So I want to ask you this. If you were to maybe, there was a possibility that you can convert this book into a play and you would get feedback immediately. What do you think will be the trajectory of that? Do you think people will be going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, all the way through? Do you think they're going to have some laughs? What do you think is going to be like?
I think throughout it, there wouldn't be a lot of laughs, I'm afraid.
No.
I don't think this is a particularly funny book.
It doesn't sound like
it. But there are some funny lines, but it's mostly a book about discovery of self, exploration, and learning about how other people live in a world that Sean never expected, never understood, never realized existed.
Right.
And he was lucky to find a mentor in a private investigator who could give him insights into the mindset of some desperate people, desperados, that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise because he didn't have that experience.
Now, please continue that thought, because that's very intriguing.
Most people have a limited experiential level of growing up.
Mm-hmm.
You grow up in a city, you know how to do certain things,
mm-hmm.
and you do them over and over again. And you do them maybe not the same, but similarly.
Yeah.
But if something brand new comes up that is particularly dangerous or graphic, a lot of times you don't know what to do. And you need a teacher.
Right.
You need a guide. And Sean was lucky in that he had found guides in different parts of his life to take him through those strange times, those different experiences. And he was lucky that the guides that he met and found were people who weren't looking for anything in return. They were just willing to give to Sean a smart, interesting young man who wanted to know more and wanted to be able to do something right.
Right.
And they did.
Did you have something similar in that in your own life, in your own journey?
I've had 5 major mentors in my life.
Oh,
maybe 6.
a tribunal.
But yes, I have.
And do you think they sort of live through your writing as you progress more and more?
Some of them have. I mean, some of them manifest in my writing. Yes.
Why
and,
some?
Because some of them don't fit. They're not there. You know, like there was one person I talked about, Dodo Haskell, and she's not alive anymore, but she was one of my farming mentors, one of the toughest, smartest, most beautiful women I ever met. She owned hundreds of acres of land and was sweet, attractive, but you better do your job the right way or she'll climb over the top of you and beat your head. And I mean that verbally.
Yeah. So you're the kind of the hands and legs guy. She's kind of the head gal.
And she taught me a lot of things to do and how to do them and how to think, how to be, getting ready to go to the coming out party, how to be in a environment of people who are very rich, very well schooled, highly cultured, and expect everybody else to be the same way, and I won't be. I will be completely different than anybody they've ever expected to meet. They would not have invited me to their party. And I just happened to get invited by somebody who didn't quite think about it that way.
Right. Maybe one of those drunk drivers we were talking about. Yeah, that guy's hands are broken now. So, is there a lesson that you've learned from the writing process of this book that you think you can carry into the next project?
I've considered what I would do with the next book many times, and I come up with ideas and then it turns into a blank. And I've realized that at 78 years old, 79 years old, it's a lot of work. It took me 4 years to get to where I was.
Wow.
And a broken neck, where I had the time to really put down to it. I used to do triathlons and all kinds of stuff before I broke my neck. And doing that, you don't have time to write.
Yeah.
And then
Amen.
after I did, I was in the hospital a lot, and I was seated a lot, because it's hard to stand and dance when your legs don't work anymore.
That's why you don't do the dancing ritual. So.
That's right.
And
I've also had to learn how to laugh.
Yeah, it's a big one. It is a big one. It is a big one. Learning to laugh is such a good tool for reaching whatever kind of acceptance you're trying to reach. I mean, it's just the nature of things, I assume. But finally, I want to ask you this before I let you go. What's the one thing? I mean, it doesn't have to be one thing. You can mention 5 if you want to, but
you're getting to know me now.
Yeah, I'm just giving you as much space as I can. But what's the one thing? For those of you listening, I'm throwing quotation marks. What's the one thing that you hope readers will carry with them long after they finish A Just Revenge?
The one thing I would want people to carry with them is that if you see something you want to get done, don't give up. Don't quit. Never quit. Push against it. Push the rock up the hill, so to speak. And I don't remember the name of the guy that was pushing the rock up the hill, but he had to push the rock up the hill.
Sisyphus.
Mm-hmm. He had to do it. And if he quit, the rock would crush him. Don't let the rock crush you. Just push the rock up the hill. And yeah, you're going to get tired. And it's going to get boring. Just push the rock up the hill.
Right.
Don't quit.
Right.
Never quit.
Well, Sisyphus is another guy who learned acceptance through sort of like the meaningless shore of, but I don't think he was laughing about it, and he didn't have anyone to laugh with. But ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another fantastic episode of the BrightWord Books Podcast. Patrick Wescot, thank you so much once again sharing your time, your insights, and passion with us. It is always a pleasure to hear how A Just Revenge continues to challenge, provoke, inspire readers, just as Sean's journey keeps questioning whether the line is between justice and vengeance truly lies, as we kind of learned today from the author himself. If you haven't yet picked up a copy of A Just Revenge, I highly encourage you to do so. You won't forget it. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, share the podcast with fellow book readers. Before I tell you, until next time, Patrick, any closing words or goodbyes, whatever you want to?
Well, thank you very much for being forthright with me with your questions. I appreciate the depth of your questions and your sense of humor and letting me laugh without being upset by it.
It's a landmine, and you gotta, it's the old Vietnamese thing that we kind of talked about before the call started. Told you, I learned. Well,
very good.
Folks, thank you so much for listening. Thank you again, Patrick, for speaking to us and everything. Until next time, keep reading boldly and stay curious. Goodbye.
You've been listening to the BrightWord Books Podcast, home of the literary community that celebrates creativity, inclusivity, and the transformative power of literature. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss future episodes. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.